Hey team, I apologize for snuffy nose today and any cough going on. Have had a cold for last week, so I haven't done any recording, and it's still here. So hopefully it will, you know, go away before it just takes my soul. I'm really hoping on that. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about was leadership today, and not only leadership, but an important part of leadership, which is really building trust and loyalty within your team. Now, building trust can be really difficult with a team. People have different personalities. Sometimes people are a little bit less willing to commit themselves and really be vulnerable in order to build that trust. So sometimes it takes time, and I encourage you to invest that time and energy in your team, and evolving that leadership, that trust, that loyalty within your team. Now, when I'm thinking about how to build trust in a team, usually there's a certain amount of follow through that you have to be committed, and you have to show the team that you're following through constantly. And failing on those commitments and failing to follow through for your team undermines that trust. So it's important that you take any commitments or promises that you make seriously and follow them through. Do what you say you're going to do every time, and have create a culture of accountability starting with you. You are the example of accountability and extreme ownership. If you show that you're not blaming anyone on the team, you're owning it, you're carrying the ball, you're going to run it through. You may fail, you may trip, whatever, but you're the one who owns it, and you're accountable for it. And you're following through with your commitments. That is contagious. The rest of your team sees that, and they're like, okay, this is how we are supposed to be. This is life. We need to be like Leader Joe, Leader Bob, Leader Steve, Leader Suzanne. We need to follow through and keep it fair, encourage, dialogue and questions and stuff. That's another thing as far as building that trust and that loyalty is. A lot of leaders are like, no, you're going to do this. I said you're going to do this. I gave you this task, et cetera. While I would say that, you need to be able to create that level of commitment in your team that when there is a task decided on, they're going to follow through with it. And that's that culture of accountability that I was just talking about. But it's also not a dictatorship. Leadership is not dictatorship. So being able to keep it fair and open and discuss questions and difficulties and obstacles and have a dialogue with your team is important. Some of the things may not be negotiable, like you have to get these 5 tasks done, whatever. There's no option other than that. It's our job depends, and the business depends on us getting these 5 things done. So those are just non-negotiable, but you can discuss the how, you can discuss the when, and you can reinforce the why to your team. And that understanding, that transparency will help build loyalty and trust within your team. And so when you hear leaders say they have an open door policy, I think you always should be able to have a dialogue with your team. So there should be no exception to that. You're always supposed to be there as a leader. You are the head of the relationship. You're the head of the family with your team. Another way to kind of build trust and loyalty is to keep it personal and make things personal with them. And that encourages that interpersonal relationship and that that level of vulnerability. If you want to treat people like cogs and gears in the system, don't expect trust and loyalty from them. It's fine if that's how you're going to lead a team. If you're completely results based, there's no sense of family or belonging or whatever. Just know every day they're looking for something else. Every day they're quiet quitting. Every day they are wishing they were doing something else other than working for you. And make sure that you're supporting each other. And, there are people that get sick. There are people that are not doing well, not performing, etc. Think about what they need to support them rather than just dictating to them. If somebody's failing, try to figure out why. Try to figure out, what you can do to actually improve their outcome and their output. Maybe they're not in the right mental place. Maybe they're not motivated. Maybe, they have some obstacles in their way. Maybe, they're not able to get things that they need. Maybe it's something within work. Maybe it's something out of work. Maybe they can't get childcare. Maybe they can't get other things and they're distracted. Like that, there's a lot of reasons for disconnection, and so you need to be human and work with your team in that way and realize that you need to make it personal with them. Now, some leadership qualities that I look for or I try to instill is really, integrity, and that's that follow through. That's, to me, that's, I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I say I'm this, I'm going to do it. Some people, it's really about high values and high morals. I think that a lot of when we're start talking about morals, a lot of times that's almost like straying into religion and things like that. And it's you're not going to have a diverse team if you are hanging everything on your morals. For instance, if you are using Christian morality, you're probably going to end up with a lot of upper class white dudes. It's probably just what you're going to end up with. So I would separate what I think of as morals and create what you consider values, and mutual values for your team. And it may not be, in exact parallel with morals, but integrity and high values. Let's say my values are, okay, regardless of what's going on, we're going to have critical systems up on Friday, so we value uptime. Okay, that doesn't exactly align with a moral, but it's a value that everybody can be behind, and especially if there's a why. We value uptime because we're a hospital and people die if we're not up. Or we value uptime because we're handling IT for a transportation organization and, people can't get to work and they can't feed their family if we're not up. It's creating that why helps motivate the team. It makes what they're doing all that more important. And a lot of times, especially in IT and security, they need that. They don't understand that, okay, all these tickets I'm doing, it's a grind. I'm doing it because I'm supporting people's lives. I'm supporting livelihood. There are thousands of people that get to work every day and get to feed their families every day because of what I do. That's creating that why. And then you can hang your values off of that. You can say, okay, uptime is important to us. Integrity is, data integrity is important to us. We need these systems not only to be up, but we need them to work. Privacy is important. We need to support our customers and our users' privacy. Freedom of choice is important. We want to, give our customers the ability to leave us and go to a competitor and then come back as freely as they want. We want to reduce that friction to nothing, things like that. And then your team has these values. What are important to you? And then you can really drive everything you do to support these values. But if you don't take the time to define what they are, then you have a bunch of people that are operating under their own ego and really don't understand why the team exists. Strength and transparency are important also. When you're a leader, a lot of times people just try to demand and use that as their strength, but really your team will gain trust and loyalty in you by seeing you struggle through problems with them, by seeing you, whether it's that all-nighter working on a deadline, whether it's talking to the customer and actually making the problem go away, whatever. The strength and transparency that the team sees in you is going to be reflected back to you in their own strength and transparency. And most important of all these is remembering that employees are people. Your staff, regardless of who they are, the cog in the machine that you want to treat them as, or as your, trusted coworker or trusted employee, they are a human being. They have their own hopes. They have their own values. They have their own hopes, dreams, aspirations. They have their own fears. They may be afraid of taxes. They may be afraid of child support. They may be afraid of whatever. They have things that they're dealing with in their life that make things hard for them. They may be afraid of not being able to get their kid what they need for school. They may be afraid of not being able to afford summer camp. They may be afraid of a lot of different things in their life, afraid of getting their car repossessed. There's a lot of things that humans are dealing with on your team every day. Some of them may have health issues and they're afraid of random heart attack or afraid of a seizure at work, or afraid of outcomes from cancer treatment. So remembering that employees are people is probably the most key thing, and understanding that you can squeeze all you want on a gear, but these aren't gears, they're people, and they're gonna break, and they need your support in order to perform, and they need your understanding in order to perform. Now, lastly, once you've gotten to that point where you've built up that amount of understanding with your team, learn to trust and empower them and leverage them. So, and this is something that I've kind of always excelled at, is giving somebody a task and getting out of the way. Of course, then I'm depressed when they don't actually do the task, but communicate how important it is. Communicate, its priority in their priority list. Any other expectations you have around it, and then trust them and expect them to finish the thing on their own. Ask them how they're doing, ask them for status, ask them for, do they need any help or support, but trust them and leverage them to do what they need to do. Don't micromanage and stay in everything. Just manage as much as it takes to validate success and to support them. All right, well, those are what I want to talk about, leadership. With me, leadership is something that is ongoing and is a challenge sometimes. And usually when it's a challenge is because my own personal hangups and my own personal problems. But, some of the things that will make leadership endure and make leadership work well over time, regardless of the obstacles you're having in your life, is just building that trust and loyalty in your team, building that team to the point where they understand you're having a bad day, but you're going to have their back in the future. That's really how to lead.